Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on Simply Jewel Atypical Podcast, where we talk about life struggles, encompassing health, wellness, and alternative approaches to medicine naturally. Your host is Simply Jewel. So let's get ready to heal the mind, body, and soul. She's atypical of the average. SimplyJewel.com.
Good evening, everyone. We are back with another podcast. You are listening to Simply Jewel, a typical podcast. We have a special guest tonight. So, with that being said, let me just get to the meat of the message. I'm going to bring on my guest, my son, Jonathan. Hello, hello. How are you, son?
I'm all right. How you guys doing out there? How you doing?
Good. Well, tonight, let's just be open and honest. Let's just have an intellectual conversation for everyday people. I know that you yourself are intellectual. I know that you have been trying to get the word out on many different levels. So, let's talk about. There's several topics we can talk about. Message to a congregation, different trauma caused by uh, police brutality, and um, the fact that you're an entrepreneur and you have some special uh, modalities, ways of doing things, ways of connecting to people. So, with that being said, um, how would you like to start this off?
Well, to tell you the truth, I mean, we're just in here just trying to figure out, what we can do. As far as being able to address certain issues that some people have. I don't want to make it, all about me. Um, Definitely want to, get out here with a network and, try to build with, like-minded individuals or, individuals that just believe in, what we're doing.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And so let's just start with the first thing, message to a congregation. I know that we've had different visitors on. Um, what is it that you'd like to say about, and what message do you have to congregations about um, believing or just everyday people conversation? What would you like to say about that?
Well, I mean, first we have to figure out, you know, what what we're classifying as congregation. Usually, when we say that, there's a lot of, you know, church, so to speak. But I mean, anything can be a congregation. I mean, we all have the right to peacefully assemble. We all have the right to, um, meet, speak, so forth and so on. When I said that congregation, I was actually gearing my conversation more towards the church, more towards pastors, individuals who had titles and was able that were able to actually make a difference, so to speak, or we believe that was supposed to make a difference, so to speak.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I know that a lot of times when we've had these conversations before, that you felt misunderstood. Can you talk about some of those things? Like why? Well, we clearly know you're misunderstood, but for other people that don't know you, what are some of the things you could say about being misunderstood on many different levels?
Well, a lot of people are going to be misunderstood, period, point blank. Personally, I never really um, gave a hill of beans about individuals misunderstanding me because work speaks for itself. A lot of people don't actually get the opportunity to explain themselves, so forth and so on. So I mean, as far as being misunderstood, yes, that's a fact. But I mean, speaking in the verbal plenary, as they say, let's just call it what it is, and let individuals take what they want to take out of the conversation, and pick and choose what they want to you know gravitate towards out of the conversation. Let me backtrack a little bit to actually fully answer your question. We had some technical difficulties over here, so I couldn't really catch on to what you were saying at first when it came back, or when it came down to um, congregation. Um, Matter of fact, let you go ahead and reiterate that since we actually jumped through a rabbit hole.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, that there is so much that that we go through, and the world is changing as we know it. There's so many different things going on where people are being misunderstood, um, and just to be clear and just to be able to express yourself, what is it that these young kids are missing? What is it that society is not understanding? And why is it that people are being put in a box when we need to understand we're all different?
All right. Well, I'm actually taking some notes here so I can actually stay on topic and stay on track. Um, you're saying young kids, encompassing the whole community, so forth and so on. So let's just start with you know one piece at a time. When it comes down to young kids, what are they missing? Um, that's kind of a delicate subject. What age group are we talking about? What background are we talking about these kids coming from? Um, when you talk about adults themselves, what are they not understanding? What are they not hearing when the kids are saying whatever it is that they're saying as far as trying to express themselves, so forth and so on. So I mean, let's just not pretend as if everybody is missing a piece, because some people know exactly what pieces are being you know hidden, and what pieces are actually being divulged, um as far as kids. Okay, so what I feel that they're missing these days is a legitimate outlet. Everybody is not going to be a music superstar. Everybody is not going to be a sports superstar. you know um Things are not as affordable as they were when I was coming up, back when you were coming up, for sure. um we have to understand that economy, economics plays a major part in being able to um, have extracurricular activities. So I think people, as far as congregations, keeping it broad, should focus on um, what are they already saying that they want to do. You know, Also making tools readily available. For the younger kids or the young adults to want to do something else. Um, I think we can start there for sure.
So, how do you think times have changed from the time when you were growing up versus now, having resources for these young kids to want to do something else, to want to uh to expand their horizons, because nowadays these kids don't have a lot to do. They are at home on the social platforms. uh, they may not even know how to go outside and play, or the fact that if they go outside and play, we now have to worry about uh, human trafficking, for example.
Okay, well, I want you to reformulate that question. Um, you shot so many questions at one time that what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to slow down again.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
because this is your show doesn't mean I'm not gonna be on you as if somebody else was, asking me to come on their show. Now,
Well, I get that, but there's so much to talk about. And like I say, I know you're an intellectual type of a person. So just speak freely about things that are important to you and changes. I mean, because there's a lot to talk about.
of course, and I mean we can start by that example right there. When you're talking to an intellectual, you can't shoot 7, 8, 9, 10 questions in one sentence.
Okay.
Asking them to try to decipher it, especially when they're creative.
Well,
That's a
that's
part
true.
of being an artist as well. Um,
Okay. Well,
so
I was just going to say, go ahead and pick one because there's so much, and we can have these conversations. But for the audience, for the listeners, out of what I mentioned, which one would you like to say to them and to expand
well,
on?
shoot, honestly, I don't even really, remember all of that. Of course, of course. So I mean, that's why I said chop it down, figure out,
Okay.
how we're gonna do this.
Okay.
Because you have ideas, I have ideas, the network has ideas. Um, it's kind of funny to sit back here and go back and forth with my mom on certain things. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go back and forth with a lot of individuals on a lot of things. But when it comes down to things being readily available, what's the difference between back in my day coming up and coming up right now? um, Not too many things are different, and a lot of things are different. Some of the things that are different is availability on programs, the pick of programs, um, being able to be creative inside the programs. It's really to the point where it's either you know mold them as you go into a cookie cutter situation, or let individuals be artistic. That's pretty much what it comes down to, on that end. On the other end, um, when you talk about human trafficking and stuff like that, let me turn that around and ask you know the grown folks in the building, because hey, I'm 35. So you know, at 25, I thought different. At 15, I thought different. At
Mhm.
9, I thought different. As I'm sure you know, pretty much everybody thinks different. So let's ask the question of, what are the grown folks doing about talking to their kids inside the home about human trafficking? I mean,
Yeah.
let's not shed light on certain things and not hold certain individuals accountable for their kids, for their actions, for their laziness. I
Mhm.
mean, bottom line, ain't nobody gonna come and kidnap my kids. If they try it, it'll be some smoke in the city, as we call it, as we used to call it and still call it today.
Well,
So
that's good. So let me ask you, what are some of the safety measures a parent should take to prevent something like this from happening? I mean, you can't prevent it, but you can give them tools to know what to look for.
Hmm. So the first thing I would say is, you know, talk to your children about what that looks like. Um, have a plan, have a safe word, have a course of action, be proactive in looking at who their friends are on a elementary level to middle school level. I mean, you don't have to be a detective, as long as you give the kids um, enough information about what to look out for themselves. They're going to be able to, kind of decipher certain things on their own. Times. What time are you supposed to be at the house to check in? Um, if I'm calling your phone, are you gonna answer this phone? Um, there should be a limit to how many times I'm getting ready to call my child's phone before you don't have that phone anymore. And now guess what? I'm taking you back and forth to where you going. What happened to that kind of parenting? I mean, everybody wants to be a friend to their kids. Everybody, wants to, be so nice to the point where their kids are stepping on all over them and walking all over them. You start that young, and then you can, you know, let them freestyle and do the things that they need to do. So I guess that's where you can start. Um,
Well, I was going to ask you, do you remember as a young kid when in the 80s and 90s it was important? Uh, I think we had a program where the kids, it was a big deal to make sure they knew what a good touch was, what a bad touch was. So now here we are in 2023, where this is something that parents have to be aware of. So I was just wondering, from when you were a child versus now, uh, the importance of understanding these things, because as times continue to go on, um, it's changing. Kids, we didn't have to worry about it, or shall I say, it wasn't so prevalent then. But now the statistics show that it's double since the 80s and the 90s.
okay,
So yeah. So I was just wanting to know how you felt about that versus the 2023 human trafficking versus back in the 90s when it was sexual abuse was more uh, prevalent then than now. Does that make
okay.
sense?
I mean, it does and it doesn't. All in the same breath. Like I say, you're trying to move fast. I wish you would, slow it down because we do have time. I don't have to hurry up and rush. But
Yeah.
I was just taking some notes. Usually people when I'm looking down, I'm, trying to take my notes to, like I said, again, stay on topic. Um, let's go back to the good touch, bad touch situation and the programs. Okay. The programs in the schools or the programs in the extracurricular activities as far as good touch bad touch, child abuse, child molestation, um so forth and so on. I do not think that um it's something that, how can I put this without sounding crazy? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I just put it this way. You know, being comfortable with, your sexuality, knowing the difference. I mean, what age group are we talking about? I mean, I think we need to narrow that down as well. I mean, because I think it's happening as far as the bad touches, if you will. I think that's happening on a lower level. It used to didn't happen, if that makes sense. It used to didn't happen on a lower level around back in my day. I guess that was, due to the kind of school I went to, due to the, attitudes we had towards certain things as far as, different culture backgrounds, so forth and so on. So I mean, that's pretty broad. That would probably be something that we would have to, chop down into a couple of segments. Um, Sexual abuse, we were talking about that for sure. I mean, as far as sexual abuse, I mean, just look at the communities, the LGBTQ community. That's probably why they formed the community they have, because they was afraid to, step out and say this and say that. I've had friends of all different walks of life, so they pretty much know where I stand on certain things when it comes down to titles and language and so forth and so on. And me personally, I just honestly let them know that, you can talk to me about anything. Some stuff we gonna laugh about, some stuff we gonna, cry about and so forth and so on. Especially if I've known you for a while. I mean, I'm not gonna make you, uncomfortable with if you need to come and tell me something. I mean, that's another thing that, you know, needs to happen in this day and age.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, I think that's true. Being able to talk to your kids and let them know they can tell you anything, good, bad, or indifferent. I think that some people may not have a good rapport with their parents. But let me say this to some of the parents. We may think that we're doing a great job, but there are times where you think that you have a good rapport with your kids, and then you find out that maybe they didn't want to talk to you about certain things. So I think it's important to let uh, these young kids know, and to let the parents know, that it's important to get to the point where the kids can talk about whatever it is, no matter what it is, right, wrong, or indifferent. If they're embarrassed, they parents and the kids need to feel comfortable knowing that they can talk to each other, because we're in a time where people have to grow closer together. With
Yeah, and let
that,
me let me interject for a second as well. Um,
okay,
as far as parenting is concerned, what I've noticed for a while is a lot of parents are, overbearing, with some of the information that they try to, give their kids. They are, a lot of times traditional and so traditional to the point where, they actually run their kids off to join other things and they don't want to speak to them. And that starts at a young age as well, because when you get to a certain age, I mean, you don't really talk to your parents about certain things, and that's totally fine. So I mean, parents, I think they need a real live wake up call. I think they need to remember what it was like when they were younger. Remember, how they felt in certain situations when they were younger. Um,
okay,
to a certain extent as well. I mean, there's been everything is not all bad, but everything is not all good. Numbers fluctuate. So that's another reason why, I'm trying to see, where the angle is on, shooting at certain topics because you know,
it's
having a
difficult.
structure, yeah, having a structure of, trying to answer so many questions at one time. That's why I like to, pick, like I said, intellectual conversations for everyday people. You can't have an intellectual conversation with everyday people if you give them 7, 8, 9, 10 choices to choose from, and then start asking them, um, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Hey, this is health and wellness. You hear me?
Okay, I
Different
got
health
you.
and wellness.
Gotcha.
And not just
Gotcha.
you. I don't want you to feel like I'm attacking you
No,
personally.
no, no, no.
I,
I mean, that's for everybody because I noticed that about myself. I have so many questions in such a short period of time, but you're right. Intellectual conversation needs to be slowed down and one topic at a time. So let this be the introduction of intellectual conversations where you pick a topic and we can have a lengthy conversation. So I thank you for that because I say I get it, but then I add on to it. So that's good. Well, can we go to this in closing um, and stay on this topic? Are you with me?
oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. And would you like to talk about um, trauma that is caused in the community and how it's caused so that that will be our ending point and that would be it for tonight. And next time we do this, I'll be quick and sure to make sure that we stay on a topic because that makes sense. It's so much to talk about.
Yeah, we can have several topics, and people in our network, um, keep that in mind as well. When we're talking about certain things, and we're talking about them freely, and we are creating the platforms and giving the platforms for us to be taking our time.
Okay.
Um, definitely pick two or three topics and build on that. You know.
Sounds good.
Um,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having some problems back here in the background. Let me are you able to hear me fine? Just fine?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Let me switch it up. Now they're doing some things here. Okay, so go ahead and reiterate the question because I'm actually trying to fix these technical difficulties here in the backstage. Trying to
Well,
yeah.
right now I can hear you. So I just wanted to talk to you about trauma in the community. Um, and we know that, police brutality is just a mess. What is it in closing that you'd like to say about trauma and what you're noticing in the community?
Okay. So let's not just narrow down to police brutality. Let's figure out what trauma looks like. It's going to look different for all kind of individuals. I mean, that's just one form of trauma.
Yeah,
Excessive force, you know, in certain areas is, of course, terrorism. You know, being being a young cat one time in my life, at one time in my life, understanding that bullying, fighting, and so forth and so on. It depends on what element you're in. Abuse comes in many forms, whether it be verbal, whether it be physical, mental. Um, so, I mean, we have to keep that in mind as well. But in closing, I mean, I'm just going to say now that we know what that looks like for different individuals, understand that medicine is not always the answer. Sometimes you got to get out of a area, and see if it is what you're calling it. Don't just trust individuals who have titles and so forth and so on, because most of the time I've found that those individuals are part of the problem.
okay.
They're not part of the solution. They're part of the problem. But you have to be the judge for that. You have to be proactive in that. Get a first opinion, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. get a fourth opinion if you have to. Don't
Yeah,
just.
because people are being misdiagnosed because they don't know and they haven't taken the time put to speak with the person, just to speak with the person, see what's going on and what's causing the stressors.
Hmm. And that's a fact. And medicine sometimes is needed, but it's not needed all the time.
Hmm.
Self medication. I self medicated, for a long time, um, and it was what was needed. It wasn't something that I did for recreational purposes, so forth and so on. So sometimes, you got to find your own medicine. You got to eat your own medicine. You got to, find a program. Get a couple of individuals in your network to help you figure out what is going on. Like I said, black people especially, you know, let's definitely talk about that in closing. Black people especially, we
Yeah.
don't like to go to the doctors and so forth and so on, because of the fact that yes, we are at war right here in America. Yes, we are at war abroad. Yes, we are at war. I don't care how they like it. I don't care if they like it. I don't care if they don't like it. I'm one of those individuals that is here to have the hard conversations.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur as well, will have individuals endorse you, individuals not endorse you, due to, what you're saying. So yeah, in closing, that's about as much as I can give you guys as far as it goes with getting crumbs or
Well,
giving
wait a
crumbs.
minute. We're just getting used to how we do these things, and you're just getting comfortable. Let's talk about it. We've got time, like you said. So keep expanding, and we'll go a few minutes longer because it always gets good at the end. But the conversation, I hate to cut off. Now we're getting to the meat of the message. So expand about that, about the health and wellness part. Let's keep going for a few
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, health and wellness on what part? Let's chop it down.
When you were talking about trauma, and let's just keep going because a lot of people don't know that they need to get out the environment. A lot of people don't know that they need to make healthy choices. What have you yourself done to get yourself into a place of uh, thriving? Let's just
Okay,
say
well,
that.
let's deal with the first two. Um, what does trauma look like? What are you willing to take? What are you not willing to take? When it comes down to um, how people deal with you, that's first and foremost. Everybody should have that. Um, I call it a barometer. Everybody should have that inside of them. Um, you know, what happens when pressure builds up in a pipe system? Um, it either busts the pipe or the pipe leaks. Um, and then you have to fix it. So, I mean, eh, that's neither here nor there, but that's just an example, one example. Um, like I said, mental abuse, physical abuse. What does that look like? Me personally, I'm not gonna let anybody talk to me any kind of way. Um, whatever happened might happen. I walk off from the situation. Do I have to stand here and argue from an individual? Um, Another form of trauma, blunt force head trauma, that can cause some problems. Concussions, that can cause some problems. I know sports. Um, there's a big thing going on now, as it was going on back when I was going to high school playing sports, especially football for sure. Leading with your head, um, having to hit somebody, with the helmets and wrapping up. Um, 1, 2 concussions, might cause a problem for you. You might have to sit out longer. Uh, you might think you're fine, and you're not really fine. Car accidents, that's happening a lot as well. Um, as far as that's concerned, um, that's why I say, you have to have a team. So I mean, trauma is a very broad word, and especially with people in the healthcare industry, that's definitely uh, medicine, medical industry. All of that is encompassed in one um, genre, so to speak. So I mean, having to, and that's why it's hard for me sometimes to answer a question, straightforward, because I first have to understand, who is it that I'm talking to? Who are the people that I'm talking to?
Yeah.
That's why I ask for, consultations and so forth and so on, because I have so much information through experience, and also um, through formal studies, so forth and so on. So I mean, we can. It's easy to get caught up and taken away in long drawn out situations. I usually tell people, yes, I just look like this,
Ha.
but don't let the suit and tie fool you.
Yeah, I understand. Well, that's why I say this is good. I just wanted to break the ice on intellectual conversations for everyday people, because when you're put on a spot, it's hard to uh, talk about everything. I've learned something in this session to slow it down and to give people a little bit more time to expand on certain topics, because it is so much. And I appreciate you. As always, you've been on the back end supporting me. A lot of people don't know, but you have supported me from day one. And the fact of the matter is, you were only 5 years old. So to be able to support me all this time and to be grown now and still support me. And I must say, you're a chip off the old block, because you do have a business mindset. And for those that don't know it, stay woke, because it's important to have tools from back in the day to now 2023 to be able to navigate in a world such as this. So I thank you for coming on. I thank you for your support. Anything else you want to say in closing as we say goodnight to the listeners?
Yes, I do want to say another reason as well. That's why you guys need to subscribe to anything that we have going on. Support, support, support. This is not a click. We do have real um, business ventures that we need the support of other people on. We need your monetary support. We need your comments. We need your, data, if you will. So
Ha.
you can definitely find me. I'm not hard to get in contact with. Definitely reach out to me at James Bookman 720303 at gmail.com. Put a subject in the subject box if you need to reach me, as well as if you want to look at anything that I've done in the past as far as, you know, uh, music. You can always find me at Jilla 217720 in the Google search bar. And like I said, we can definitely build from there. I'm a man of many hats. I do a lot of things. No, I'm not just subjected to health and wellness. I do try to expand my horizons and find other individuals. So like I said, we're all a part of this network here. So when people have things going on, and you can support them, it doesn't cost you to press like, it doesn't cost you to subscribe, it doesn't cost you to um, send 50 cents. It doesn't cost you to send a penny. Um, Definitely change for change. was one of my ideas. So I see a lot of individuals poking around, trying to utilize that where I'm at. Like I said, it was change for change, and I'm the one that was actually the one that started the change for change. And it's great to see individuals, um, taking ideas, um, that I've left, and utilizing those and put them to some work. But don't forget, you have to pay it forward. You have to pay it forward in some way. So don't just make that change for change be, something that falls by the wayside, because I will sue you.
Well, you know what? You've always been innovative, and for those that have taken advantage, it's okay because you'll get yours another way. You've always been the one to think, and you've always been the one to create something new. So that doesn't go without saying. I recognize you, I see you, and of course, I'm your mom, but I already know. A lot of
Oh yeah,
times
that's why
people,
I'm privileged to be on the show. I
yeah,
feel privileged to be on the show because I've seen you come a long way as well. So, we're just in the network trying to, create things. I mean, we've both, had money, lost money, had money, lost money, had money, lost money, had
yeah.
credit, lost credit. I mean, that's a part of being an entrepreneur.
It's
You're
part
just
of life, but we're still here and debt free, may I add. We've
yes,
not been
buddy.
a business that has gotten loans, grants, because we're atypical of the average. So yeah, let's just keep going. And
True
like I
story,
said,
y'all.
yeah, let's keep going. I'm glad. And like I said, I'm glad that you came on. We started off slow, but we're learning from one another. We're in a new time where social platforms is the way to go. So as we continue to get used to one another, uh, in addition to our guests, it is what it is, and nothing beats a fail but a try. So until next time, thank you for coming on. I'll Don't go away. I'm gonna say goodnight to our guest and stay with me. Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was my son. I can't say enough about him because he is one of my driving forces. And the reason why I do what I do is because we have come up, we've been down, we've been up, we've been down, but we're not giving up. And so, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. You have been listening to Simply Jewel, a typical podcast. And don't forget, follow me on Linktree, Simply Jewel, to let you like, comment, subscribe, and share so that you know what we'll be doing in the upcoming months. Okay? Peace and blessings. Bye bye.